Wealth with Gary Quackenbush is sponsored by the Word on Wealth Radio Network.
The airing of this program by this station is not an endorsement or recommendation by the station of the products or services discussed in the program.
It recommends me.
Any investments made by a listener to this program.
Recommends Marty Schneider, but he's not here.
This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary is a San Diego financial solutions attorney, protecting people like you. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future. Now, you're
live.
Happy Wednesday. This is Gary. You guys, thank you so much for listening. This is a great day. Best day of the week, not because it's the middle of the week and now it's, past the middle of the day. So we're halfway through the week. It's not even that. It's because every Wednesday I have my partner in the show, and that is Ken Pecus. He's the founder of the Pecus Group at eXp Realty. And for those of you that have just been listening along, consistently, I was at a town hall meeting last Thursday and got so many of you that came up and said, we love Kenny Pecus. He knows so much about real estate. So that made me really happy to have some of our listeners show up to the town hall meeting and tell me that they love the show and they love it when Ken comes on Wednesday. So I thought that was pretty cool. So we have him here every Wednesday. He knows everything that you need to know about investing in real property, owning real property for yourself, selling real property. And we're just delighted to have him with me every Wednesday. This is fantastic. Ken, how are you, man? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. What a great welcome. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Excited to be at the show. I love this town hall. I want to be at that town hall. What was that town hall about?
It was they did a KC or a Answer San Diego, KPRZ. It was called a Saving America town hall with Brendan Tatum, who's a national talk show host on KCBQ, I think, and KPRZ. And then, oh my gosh, I'm spacing on the other guy. He's super popular, and so I should know his name, and I'm spacing. Anyway, but it was a town hall meeting on, what are we going to do? What, as Americans, what should we be doing with the economy and what are our ideas? So kind of a rally type thing, which is interesting. I don't really do rallies, and I was invited to go because of the Word on Wealth. So I was there with a bunch of different people, and people recognized me and recognized my voice. And it really was delightful for me, not to just say, oh, Gary, it was really, I listen to your show all the time. It's like that real estate guy, he's so cool.
Well, that makes me feel really good. That means that no matter how you're going to save America, no matter how or what everybody thinks is the right direction to go, we can all agree that real estate is a good part of it.
It is a huge part of it because, I mean, if you think about and you could do this way better than I can because of your involvement in real estate in your whole life. But if you look at how our nation came to be, and it was like you land over, you leave Britain and come over and land on the shores of New York and New Jersey, and then, make a little country there and then keep moving. And it's acquisition of property, acquisition of states and moving forward. And it's what's that about? It's about real property. We need real estate. I mean, it used to be we needed so much to farm and to ranch and to build homes and all that. And real estate real estate is where it's at. And it's always been that way. You have to have a place, you have to have dirt on which to live and survive. And so I don't know, real estate has such a deep history. I think it's really, really cool. So,
well, I got a lot of cool stuff, so I can't wait to talk.
Oh my gosh, we've got a ton of stuff. I mean, I think we're going to save our warning to listeners till the bottom of the hour because Ken and I have been talking about this. There's some stuff going on out there, and anytime you mess with my people, my retirement age people, you have got my hackles up, and I don't appreciate it. But there are a lot of scammy, crummy stuff out there related to people's real property and loans and all that is illegal and it is wrong. And Ken and I are going to talk about that. We're going to sound the warning. That's going to be at the half hour. So right now, though, the feature of our show that this is my favorite is Ken's telling us about, do you want to do the market report or the new feature?
Let's do the new feature because I just love talking numbers to start out with.
All right, let's do it. All right, new feature.
We'll go right.
Ken Pecus of the Pecus Group. We're going to talk about the least expensive and the most expensive sales in San Diego in the last week, San Diego County. So this is cool. Okay, take it away.
All right, let's go. Let's go. The most expensive. We'll switch it up. Cool. The most expensive house that's sold, or the most expensive property, I should say, that's sold in San Diego County this week was in La Jolla. And it actually closed escrow for a paltry $7,650,000. And I say paltry compared to the numbers we've been seeing the last few weeks.
Wow.
And it's so if you're familiar with La Jolla, there's a lot of different places in La Jolla. There's everything from Upper and Lower Hermosa. There is Wind and Sea, Barber's Tract. So this one sold in the neighborhood of Hidden Valley in La Jolla. And if you don't know where Hidden Valley is, it's literally a hidden valley. You come in off of the parkway, you should be Ardith Road.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're facing the ocean, it's over to the left. You have to make this hard turn right at where that Hotel La Jolla is. And you go in there, and that little area is Hidden Valley. It's like the backside of Soledad.
Oh, yeah.
And
I have a friend that lives over in that area. It's great. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful. I played tennis there, did all sorts of stuff. And this particular house,
2 minutes.
9 bathrooms. Don't you always love it when there's more bathrooms than bedrooms?
Oh, wow.
And but it sold for a deal. It's 7,195 square feet, 7.6, so just over 1,000 square foot. And it comes complete with a putting green, a sauna, a gym, a beautiful huge wine cellar, and a view to the ocean. So what more could you ask for $7,600,000 in San Diego, right?
Yeah, I know it sounds funny, but a 7,000 square foot house, 7 bedrooms. I mean, those are big bedrooms, big bathrooms, 7 million. With the numbers, you look at Coronado, La Jolla Del Mar, and that doesn't. I mean, I couldn't afford it, but it certainly seems like that's a lot of property. That's great.
Oh yeah, and it's on almost an acre, so you got everything there. Looks like a stately East Coast house, like maybe out in Connecticut.
1 minute.
And well, the Hamptons more beachy, but just one of those really cool places. All right, from there we're just going to switch into what is the most affordable houses that have or properties. So the lowest is always and has recently been the mobile home. So it was 1 bedroom, 1 bath in Chula Vista, $180,000. Lowest condo was $240,000, another 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and that was in San Marcos. It was in a 55 and over community. And then the lowest house that sold was in Vista. It was for $525,000, and 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,500 square foot, but it needed to be completely gutted on there. So
interesting.
There you go.
Well,
the
I love
high
that.
side was a little more exciting this time than the low side.
Okay, we're going to do a recap when we come back on the Word on Wealth. You're here with Ken Pecus on the Word on Wealth. We'll be right back.
We've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com. You're saving and investing for the future, and that's good. Have you ever stopped to think, where does my money actually go? This is Faith-Based Investing with Anthony Wright.
Most Christians just don't understand that the money they save for retirement usually helps fund the abortion industry and other liberal anti-family causes. But did you know that with just a few minutes of your time, we can screen and clean your investments at no cost to you? It's absolutely complimentary. Just go to the website right now, download a free copy of my book, Faith-Based Investing. It's free as well. You deserve to know the truth as the investor. Then the choice is yours. You can keep doing what you're doing, or you can line up your investments and life savings with your beliefs. We are fiduciary investment advisors. You can feel good about investing with confidence. So learn more now. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com or call me at 931-RETIRED. Your free book is waiting for you. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com and be sure that you listen to Faith-Based Investing this weekend right here on Family Talk.
So Gary, we've talked a long time about estate administration. So what is that and why is it important?
Estate administration is the distribution part of estate planning. So when someone passes away and they leave money to beneficiaries, the property has to be administered. So it's like taking it from the decedent to the survivor. That's called the estate administration process. So usually you're going to have a successor trustee that's named in the trust. They'll have no idea what they're doing because they've never done it before. So then they call on GQ Law and we walk them step by step on how to be a successful and good successor trustee. We also do the required notifications. We notify the Department of Health Services and all the legal requirements so that they can have the estate administration done properly. We help successor trustees be successful.
Call or click to request your free consultation. GQLaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, GQLaw.com.
Who will you trust with the biggest financial decision of your lifetime? If you're planning to buy or sell a home in San Diego County, do what I do and work with the true San Diego real estate experts. Ken Pecus and the Pecus Group helped me and my family. They can help you. This is Gary Quackenbush of The Word on Wealth. You hear Ken every week here on The Word on Wealth. He's our expert. He's got integrity, exceptional service, deep knowledge of the San Diego, Coronado, and South Bay regions. These are just some of the reasons that Ken Pecus has completed hundreds of transactions. He manages a powerful team of professionals at the Pecus Group, from single-family attached homes to luxury high-value waterfront properties to apartment buildings. Ken Pecus is ready to help you avoid problems and costly mistakes. Learn more online at kenpecus.com. That's Ken Pecus, Pecus.com. Or call 619-977-8419.
DRE number 010566969, brokered by eXp Realty.
Tell a friend about this broadcast outreach, The Word on Wealth, with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST, GQLaw.com.
You're live.
All right. Happy Wednesday. We are here with Ken Pecus. He's my partner on Wednesdays in here on The Word on Wealth, because it is all about dirt wealth, man. Dirty wealth. Well, not dirty, but yeah, it has to do with dirt. I ask people that when I'm doing an estate plan, I'm asking them a consultation. Do you own a home? Yeah. They go, oh yeah, I own a house. And then of course the house and the lot are always stuck together. And then I go, how about, do you own any dirt? And they go, what is that? And I go, like separate, like dirt with no house on it. But then you run into the mobile home situation, the manufactured home, and then they really are two separate things. The dirt lot has one description, property description, and then the mobile home is actually considered personal property, so it's not stuck to the property. So I'm really glad that you bring up the manufactured home. I was talking to a gal in the last couple of weeks, and she had come in, and her thing was, taking care of mom and dad, and mom and dad never really had a lot of money. She didn't either, but we were looking at numbers, and, you take a situation where she says, yeah, I've got, I literally have, $300,000 to last the rest of my life. And then, I'm looking at the numbers and she's like, I wonder what I can do. Because what was happening is the house would be sold. Mom and dad's house would be sold. There's a reverse mortgage on it. So that would have to be paid. And it would leave about $250,000 to $300,000. And it was interesting to me. She didn't whine about it. And she didn't say, oh, wham, wham, wham. She was so good. And she said, with that, I can get into a mobile home and I could have some money left in my retirement account and I can live on my Social Security. Yeah, this will be great. And I thought, what a great attitude. It's like, this is how much I have. I know I can do it. And I think, in this part of the show, we talk about, what's available, and you have manufactured homes, it's on, whether it's on its own lot or not, these aren't, but it's like $180,000 and it's all set up. And some of them are, they're beautiful homes. They're not, nailed to the ground necessarily, but there is stuff available. Just got to look for it and find it. So
I totally agree. I mean, and with the manufactured homes versus mobile homes versus sometimes you put them on permanent foundations, sometimes you do. There's so many different opportunities and possibilities. And I think if somebody just always keeps that in mind, that, okay, there's possibilities out there. I might not have the answer today, but if we keep thinking and keep working on it, a lot of times that possibility turns into a reality. So I love the way your client is thinking. That's a beautiful way.
Now, I had a question that came up, and it was this week. I can't remember which day, but somebody was asking me. They said I heard Ken on the show, and I want to get into real property. I'm just not sure really where to start, or if I even have enough money. And then he gave me some numbers, and it was like, well, I could come up with 50 or 100, maybe 175, maybe 200, but I don't know I don't know what I can do with that. And we had that conversation like you had with us, me and our listeners, a couple of weeks ago about, it's not about, you're not trying to buy a rental property that you necessarily would say, okay, this is my permanent home and I'm renting here. You're instead looking at numbers and what's available, because there are homes in all different price ranges and investment properties in all different price ranges. And I told him, I gave him your number. I said, just call Ken and then sit down with him. And I wanted to ask you just kind of briefly, what would that look like with you? Somebody calls you and says, hey, Ken, I really don't know how to do this. How would that conversation go with you as far as trying to get them comfortable with the concept of investing and maybe how they could get started?
Sure. Okay, I can answer that. So I would go back and I would ask similar questions. I would just say, so let's just say that the number they said they had was $100,000. I would then go through and just have a little sit down and say, so what are your goals? Do you have to live in the property that you're going to buy, or do you have your own property and you just want to use this towards investment? And then, depending upon their answer, is it use it towards investment or live in the property, then that'll tell us what type of property we're looking for. And from what type of property we're looking for, then you have to estimate, you have to start to talk to them about where they are in their life right now. Meaning, are they retired at this stage? Are they young? Are they, middle of the road with jobs? Do they have, you have to ask them if they have earned income versus are they self-employed? How does their finances currently work? So once you understand how their finances currently work, what they want to use the property for, whether it's investment or personal residence, then you go into the position of trying to figure out where they could possibly qualify for financing, based on their income structure. From there, you just set a plan. So let's just say they wanted to buy something and an investment property. Well, $100,000 is enough. It's enough to buy a small investment property in San Diego, but it could be like a little condo, or it could be something different. Or if they want to live in the property. They want to buy their first property, and this is where they're going to want to live. Well, you can buy with as little as 5% down, 3.5% down. It just depends on what you qualify for the loan. So that's where that lending part comes in. So there's a lot of layers of the onion you have to peel away just to understand exactly what's going on. You can't just assume this is what they want. You have to have a much more intense interview process to exactly understand where they are now and where is it they want to be. And so from there, I would give them. But certainly if they have $50,000, they have $100,000, if they have $200,000, there's all sorts of options. It just depends on what it is they want to do.
Okay. And what I'm getting from you is the thing is, I know a lot of realtors. I really know a lot of investment, realtors, stuff like that. And the thing that I found that was unique about you, and I think that's why, our common friend, my stepbrother Smokey, said, you got to talk to Ken, is that you'll take the time to really kind of get people set up. The questions that you're asking, it's so interesting. The questions you're asking are very, very similar to when we talk to Anthony, right, about money. Like, okay, I have 50 or I have 100,000, I want to invest. And it's the same questions, which to me is so important and incredible, because most real estate people just go, well, go figure out how much you can afford and then let's go shopping, and then tell me where you want to look and do some research and let me know what you think. And then we'll kind of go in that direction. And if a financial advisor did that with me, like, oh, so Gary, you got $150,000. So what do you want to do with the money? What do you think would be best? What are your thoughts? I'd be going, well, that's your job, right? And tell me what you can do for me. So I like that in a real estate context, especially in Southern California, especially in San Diego County, that's the conversation you're willing to have with people. And you guys, that are listening up is I'm serious. Listen up. Ken's number is 619-977-8419. 619-977-8419. It's like, if you're even thinking that, I don't know what to do with this money, I could, there's different options. Have that conversation with Ken on what would it take to get into real property in the San Diego area, in the Southern California area, and figure out, how you can make that work and have that conversation. That's all I can do is tell you that would be the thing that I would suggest that you do. I hear a lot of people that say, oh, San Diego's so expensive, I'm just leaving. Yeah, I just have to leave and go where? You got to go somewhere and buy something and then set up a new life and then get a new job. And it's like, it's all
a choice.
Yes. Yes.
It's what people want to choose to live. And hey, if some people leave, the way I look at it is, hey, do you have anybody that needs to sell your house? Because I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it just comes down to that. I mean, the market's always changing. Like right now, I like to describe, because normally right now we talk about, what's going on with the active market, right? So right now every year, good market, bad market, good economy, bad economy, there's a seasonality to it. So in August, there's a definitive. Tomorrow I'm heading to Spain. I'm going on vacation. Can't wait to be on that plane. It's going to be fun. But every year I do it exactly when I leave San Diego, I leave almost exactly at the same time, because after all these years, I've realized that there's a seasonality to everybody. And so one of the times I leave is the 2 weeks before Labor Day, because what happens in the overall market is the overall market slows down very dramatically. And what happens is except for the people that are selling their property or buying their property, I should say selling their property, they're like, what happened to the market? The market died or whatever. No. The market didn't die. What happened is kids are going to college and their parents are taking them there. Kids are going back into grade school and high school, and the parents are stopping, they're taking them there. The ones of us that don't have kids or whatever, we're going on vacation. The weather is really hot, it's kind of warm, whatever, that type of thing. We're lazy, we don't want to go out. Every single year in August, and it starts just about mid-August, you can almost time it to it, the market slows down. And now you have a lot of people out there that are thinking, wow, why is the market slow? Oh my gosh, things are, it was already slow and now it's getting slower, and look at all the stuff in the news. The market's unstable. But I can tell you, as soon as Labor Day comes and goes, everything changes again. Everything changes again. People are in school. They're fast. I mean, there's a lot of wins going on right now. So, which we
2 minutes.
economy,
Yeah.
but that's every year in and year out. You're always dealing with the initial stuff, right? So
Yes.
if you've been like looking at houses, let's say you've been looking at property, you're working with an agent somewhere, whatever, and you haven't had a lot of success, whatever. If you're a really smart person, you're going to go and triple down with your agent right now, these next few weeks, because the overall market is kind of slow. And those sellers that are, where we had so many offers before, that might be greatly reduced for the next couple weeks. And it's just seasonal. It might be the perfect time to strike when somebody thinks that the market is slow and you might get a good deal. And you want to absolutely hit that market right now. If you've already been working with an agent or whatever, and if you haven't been working with an agent, but you are ready and pre-approved, it could be a great time to start, because there's people, and especially after right when you get past Labor Day,
1 minute.
people have been on the market for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and you suddenly put a offer in, and it's the first offer they've seen in 3 and 4 weeks. And they're like, oh, wow, I better go. Little do they know that it's going to slice up way up in a couple of weeks after that.
Right.
Because it always returns to a much brisker market.
Interesting. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And listening today, you guys, Ken's number 619-977-8419. By the way, when he goes to Spain, his 18 agents don't. So it's like you still call 619-977. What's that? How many?
37 now.
Well,
I have 37.
Wow. That's terrific.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
No,
All right.
and I answer my phone still. It's just 9 hours ahead. So you
I
don't have to
know,
worry.
that's the thing,
Call
Ken.
me or WhatsApp.
Ken still answers 619-977-8419. All right, coming up next, a voice of warning. We're going to be back. We're going to talk about that. We got to protect you guys right here on the Word on Well with Ken Pecus.
You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Well with Gary Quackenbush. We're here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST. 855-500 Trust, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's gqlaw.com. 855-500 Trust.
You're lying.
All right. You're here on the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush and our real estate expert, Ken Pecus. Oh, Ken, I wanted to ask you a couple different questions. We're going to sound the voice of warning because I'm got one other thing to do first, but I am constantly getting comments from my own clients, some of them that I'm doing the trusts and stuff like that for, that are getting bombarded with people saying, we'll sell your house, I'll do it cash. And they're seeing commercials on TV and it's like, what do I do? What do I do? So I'm going to ask you about all that. That's super important. We're going to be talking about that coming up right after my next question. And that is, there's some stuff going on right now with the market and then the economy and some random facts. I want you to share that with us on kind of what's going on in the real estate market now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because there is some stuff that some of it actually plays out to what we had talked last week, when you were asking about the Moody's downgrade. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to my brother who is in town and a really smart guy, and I got to give him complete credit for triggering me to research something because I was like, whatever. But Fitch ratings, and that's the other side of, Moody's is one and Fitch is another. Fitch is actually looking at downgrading. They're threatening the downgrade of a large segment of the whole banking industry, and not a gigantic downgrade, but a step down, which would force them to relook at everything that's going on. And effectively, what that would do, and that includes the big banks like JP Morgan Chase, and that's what triggered it with my conversation with my brother. He goes, well, no, they're looking at downgrading JP Morgan Chase, and I'm like, couldn't be. And I went and did some research, and lo and behold, and so it wasn't Moody's, but it's Fitch that's looking at that, and Fitch does 70 banks, and they said if they did downgrade from the AA- to A+, they would then have to kind of reconstruct all of their financials. And I bring that up. A lot of the banks obviously are very much against it because it changes their bonds, the cost structure and everything like that. And that's something that Anthony will know much better than me. But how does that affect us? Is because I think it previews or portends to potential additional instability in the banking market. And so as we get into the last quarter here, if you pay attention in life, that the questionable stuff in the stock market or whatever tends to happen in October. And so if you have some of the stuff happening, and if Fitch does downgrade, or even if Moody's downgrade some of the bigger banks, just because they're insecure about what's going on, it could have a chain reaction across the economy, especially in Wall Street. But at the same side, when it comes to real estate, in my experience, and this is my personal experience, this is not an economic experience, but I've just watched, whenever we have some kind of significant issue in that extends on Wall Street, we have, I don't want to say almost inverted, but we have almost an inverted reaction in real estate, because the insecurity of what's going on with the securities, people start pulling, and then they start putting more money into real property. So the lesson here is just to pay attention. World economy, China is still being hammered. So much of the U.S. is still based on what happens with that Chinese economy, and so it's just something to pay attention to. But I don't see right now. I don't see an overall, I don't see an overall threat to real estate. It still looks very, very strong the way everything is headed. But you should always keep your eyes open.
Interesting
on that.
And I get that, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I know one conversation that I had with my father's own stockbroker is I because my dad was letting me talk to him and stuff like that, and I made a comment like, Dad, you're like this old dude, and you are like way at risk because everything was in equities. And his response was, no, it's not. I own real estate. And that was his hedge. That was literally, he can go all the way in the stock market and really go for it, because that his risk was his hedge was real property, because he had his stuff in real property. So if he lost everything in Wall Street, he still had his real property. So it was so it's exactly what you're saying. That you have the stability of real property, and you may have your stocks, you can take a little more risk because you have the stability of real property. So I love it.
Well, and one random thing before we go into those call things is this has nothing to do with real estate, or maybe it does, I don't know. But I just found this out. I'm a big reader. I read at least one to 1.5 business books a week, biographies, whatever. It's all nonfiction. One of my all-time favorites is Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
And one of the number one stories in Napoleon Hill was the formation of U.S. Steel Corporation. Mm-hmm. And so anytime I see anything with U.S. Steel, that always catches my attention. And today I saw I saw a headline, a byline that said U.S. Steel is close to being completely absorbed. And I go, huh? And so there's multiple bids out for U.S. Steel, and it's talking about how it's I don't know if they're going to keep the name, whatever, but by two different steel companies, Cleveland Cliffs and Esmark. And I'm not in the steel space, so I don't really understand this. But I was thinking that wasn't the thing that caught my attention. What caught my attention was that they said that if Cleveland Cliffs takes over U.S. Steel, they'll be so big that they will get into the top 10 in worldwide steel companies. That's what struck me. I'm like, wait, we're not in the top 10? We're not in the whatever? The U.S. Steel is so far out. And I did a little bit more research, and I found out steel makers, I think everybody pretty much knows it's China is number one, but India's number 2, Japan is number 3, U.S. is not number 4. And I'm like, whoa, I thought we made steel here, but apparently we don't. So totally has nothing to do with real estate, but I just had to share that with somebody.
No,
you didn't know it.
Just by the sheer size of the geographic, the China geographically, and then because their labor is, what are we paying minimum wage now? $16 an hour, and they're, 45 cents.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's and what happened with Japan is when after in the world wars, Japan was decimated because of, the wars and stuff like that. The U.S. put billions of dollars and rebuilt all of the Japanese steel factories to get them back on their feet. And then we started buying from Japan because we just rebuilt all their steel factories. So that's very interesting. But Napoleon Hill, that I think it's a must read. If you haven't read Napoleon Hill, first of all, if you read all these books, like Darren Hardy and, Jim Rohn and all these different mentors that I have in business that I read it all the time on these guys, and Jack Welch, then you go and read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and you go like, wait a minute, did Napoleon just quote Jack, or did he just quote Darren Hardy? And you're going like, oh, wait, no, it's just the opposite. This guy wrote his book 100 years ago, and he had it totally nailed. So all the stuff nowadays, it all comes from that Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and all that. And when he wrote that book, that was like heresy. He's going, oh, wow, that's just horrible. How could you think, how could you want to be wealthy? But he had it dialed. So I think that very interesting comment. I'm glad you made that comment. Love it. Hey, let's talk about let's have a business book segment. We need to do this for 2 hours, and we would have Ken and Gary's business book segment.
I'm all in. So, all right, let's go on to the warning part.
Okay, so this is what I need. This is where we need Ken's opinion on this. And this is, to me, it is very upsetting because as people age, okay, it is just medical fact that as we age, we process things slower. Our vision's slower, our hearing is slower, our brain process is slower. It doesn't mean you're less intelligent. It just happens. And people are easier to trick as they get older. So I'm getting people that are saying, Gary, I just got contacted. Somebody said they'll buy my house. They'll pay cash. They'll give me a cash offer. It's going to solve all my problems. I don't have a lot of income. And, it's just like, we're going to do this overnight. We're going to pay the cost. No realtor fees. Easy. Lots of money, lots of cash. I want your comment on that.
Yeah, what they're doing is, so it's not only that. You see the commercials on TV. Mm-hmm. There's these commercials constantly. You're constantly, if you're like me or whatever, going to you're getting text all the time too.
Ugh.
So and it's not just older people. What they're doing is they're vilifying the real estate industry in order to
1 minute.
on your insecurity about that and being taken advantage of, and then taking advantage of you by protecting you against what they're taking advantage of. It's a perfect thing, and I just think it's important for people to understand and have some plans in place for how you deal with it.
Okay.
So that's what I want to give it to you.
Okay. Ken's number, this is his cell phone, whether he's out of town or not. You don't care. We don't care because he does care and wants to hear from you. 619-977-8419, 619-977-8419. Okay. So Ken, I do want to follow up with you a little bit more on that. You know, it's like, what is the plan? We want to come up with a plan. We're not going to have a ton of time, but we're going to go right to the top of the hour. You guys with Ken Pecus, and he's going to give us a plan. You know, what if you see these commercials and it sounds like this great thing, or you can be saved financially? It's not necessarily true, and it may be absolutely false, but we're going to get Ken's take on that coming up next here on the Word on Wealth.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
Gary, your team at GQ Law are experts at solving IRS and state tax problems. Talk about that.
When people have a tax problem, it tends to really stress them out. And one of the things we've been able to do is figure out how to resolve tax problems. You know, one thing we might be doing is setting up a payment plan or getting a collection delay, maybe getting a determination that the person shouldn't have to pay the taxes at all. We do offers and compromise. We do auto reconsiderations. And one of the things that's a really powerful tool that some people don't recognize is sometimes bankruptcy can be used to actually eliminate taxes when there's certain conditions of the code that are met. So we can do all kinds of things. After we analyze your situation, we can figure out what's available, discuss your options, and figure out which ones to implement, what it's going to cost, how long it's going to take. And we can get people out from under all kinds of tax problems so they can sleep again. That's our goal.
Request your free initial consultation. GQlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
More than 80 million Americans.
About this broadcast outreach, the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
Right. The Word on Wealth. You're here with Ken Pecus and Gary Quackenbush. You've got his number memorized. I need you to write it down in charcoal on your wall or on your forehead. Lipstick, doesn't matter. 619-977-8419. That's Ken Pecus. The only name you need to know. That sounds like a huge commercial, but you know what? The purpose of that is to get information out there because I don't want people to make mistakes. Ken, we are talking about people really kind of, I don't know, there's
right.
People try to take advantage of our listeners, and that annoys me. So help us come up with a plan here.
Okay, so there's multiple places where you might have the advantage of going off market. Okay, so they call it off market sales because you didn't put it on the market, just logically. It doesn't go in the MLS. You're not putting it out to people people come and show the property. There's a lot of advantages to do certain off-market sales for certain people. I've done a few, but anytime I've done these few, you ensure that the person that's actually selling is getting a market price. And in order to get that assurance, there's the steps you take with that person to ensure they've seen the comps, they know what they're doing, they've had a chance to think this through. What happens with the people that I'm most concerned about is that they have banks of callers. They have these companies have what they call inside sales agents or other people. They just call, they call until people pick up. Have you ever thought about selling your house? Have you ever thought about whatever? We do cash sales, and eventually somebody who's just sitting around, they might say, well, what's my house worth? Well, they'll say, well, the market has really been great. There's probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in the house. And depending upon how aware and what the owner's sphere of knowledge is, they could be taken advantage of. And for instance, let's say somebody's owned a property for, maybe it's a rental property, and somebody's owned this property for 10, 20, 30 years, and they bought it for $67,000. And, whatever, they get their rents, they're getting whatever, but they're getting along right now. And they suddenly get an offer for $800,000. And they're like, $800,000? That's crazy. $800,000. Oh my gosh. And they go, yeah, no, we can make this happen. And if you went on the market, you might get a little bit more, but what we can do is we can make sure that you're not paying any commissions, you're not paying any this, you're not paying any that, and we'll just do this cash sale. And just to somebody who doesn't have a lot of money, or somebody who's like in trouble right now, just happens to catch that person because they were low tax or whatever, that could seem like an awful lot of money. Mm-hmm. However, that $800,000 house could be worth $1.4 million or $1.5 million if the person hasn't comped it. And I personally didn't think this was possible, that how could somebody not know at least a rough idea of what their property is? I mean, you could put it into any online site. You could put it into Zillow, you could whatever. You can kind of find a rough estimate of what the house is worth, but people don't. And they are somehow convinced to sell these houses. Well, the reason the other people are buying those houses, they're buying them and they're immediately turning them and selling them and making hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit. It's crazy the kind of money they make. Mm-hmm. And you have to ask yourself, why is somebody calling me to sell my house? And whose benefit would it be? Would it be my benefit or this other benefit of this other person for me to sell that house? If it was not a benefit to the other person, why would they want it? Why would they want my house, right? You just have to ask yourself that question. Mm-hmm. And people like to think, well, I don't want to pay commissions, I don't want to pay whatever. We're talking, depending upon, whatever the commissions could be, even the most discount brokers have a chance of getting you closer to market price than taking an off-market deal. Now, this is different. What we're talking about is different. These cold calls are different than maybe true, what we like to say, flippers, right? There's a lot of flippers, like I know a lot of flippers, and we see that whatever, they actually work through real estate agents. They look for undervalued property, and they put in cash offers, and it's made it known they're going to come into the property, they're going to completely fix it up, and they're going to sell it for a profit. They earn the profit that they're going to make because they're adding value to the property, and it's something that you, the homeowner, probably are not capable of doing. If you were, you probably would have done it already, right?
Exactly.
So a flipper might come in and say, hey, the market value of this property is $900,000, but I'll tell you what, I'll give you $825. And, but you don't have to do this, or they'll make the delta between what they're paying for it and what the current market value is lower. And usually if a flipper comes in, or if they're working with an agent, if they're not working for an agent, they'll reduce the cost. They'll make it worth your time. And you do give up a little bit of the premium because of the convenience of what you're doing. So I want to make sure I'm really clear that I'm not talking about your standard house flippers here. I'm talking about the ones that are really going after and are very predatory, that are taking advantage. I've encountered a few where when I saw the delta between what the people were buying and what its market value is, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm like, the plan is, if you're out there, you should just put handcuffs around your hand. Don't allow yourself to sign until you promise yourself. You could still sell it to them, but go get one or two outside opinions by an overpriced agent that you're not going to use. But at least you know what, or call me. Well, it doesn't cost anything. At least know what the property is worth roughly before you enter into an agreement with anybody else. I can't tell you how many times a day I personally get to sell one of my properties. Just, hey, whatever. And it's irritating to me, but unfortunately they do it at such high volume that it hits targets, and people do it. People come in and they think they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And here's the other part about it is, if they've owned it a long time, if you're older and you've owned the property a long time, you can't just go ahead and sell your personal residence without thinking this through, because your protection on capital gains is only $250,000 to $500,000, depending upon if you're married or not. Mm-hmm. After that, people don't realize there's the complete likelihood that, if you've owned it a long time, that you have capital gains involved.
Right.
And so they're not going to tell you that stuff. They're not going to give you anything. They don't use California, realtor contracts. They use nothing that's going to benefit you. They'll use a corporate contract that you're going to sign on, and it's all done by their attorneys. Mm-hmm. So you have to be very, and it's all legal.
Yeah,
it's all legal.
Yeah,
there's nothing that says they're not doing anything illegal. They're providing money for a service, and you're agreeing. So the warning here is, and if you're out there and you have parents that are elderly or maybe not as in tune to what values are, check in on them more. Just be a big part of their life, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
Because this is happening out there.
And sometimes what will happen, and this is the challenging part too, is that if somebody they have their line and response for everything. Well, but I have a realtor friend and I'm going to have him sell my house for me. I've already talked to him about it. Oh, they're going to charge you a big commission, and if you talk to them about this deal, of course, they're going to tell you it's a bad deal because they want your commission, but you can't be talking to them. This is what's important. And they're really nice people on the phone, so you get in that situation where, the person that they're calling on the phone is going to be embarrassed to talk to a family member. And I know it's not an illegal scam, but what they're doing, I believe, in many situations is just wrong because, forcing or pushing people, into a decision. They're signing a contract and they're agreeing that they know what they're doing.
2 minutes.
I think sometimes it's sad, and you have to get advice from other people. That's always been my thing, is that, call and get a free initial consultation from an attorney like me, or call and talk to Ken and say, hey, I'm just curious, is this going to work out or not? And how do I get around it? And I mean, first thing I would say is, well, you look it up yourself. If you don't know how to use the internet, find somebody and just look it up on one of these places that give you this, instant value. At least you get an idea of how crazy it is that they're trying to sell your house for such a little amount. And when they tell you, well, it's going to take us $500,000 to get this thing on the market, that is baloney. Like my son would always say, I'm calling BS on that one. That's just ridiculous. So, but people get talked into stuff. So listeners, you guys, that's why we've got Ken here. If you've got questions, if somebody's approaching you to sell your house and wow, you're going to have all this cash now and you're going to, be able to cash in on your equity. There's a lot of other ways to do that allow you to stay in that house rather than, run into the potential tax consequences and issues like that. Give Ken a call, 619-977-8419. If you have any questions, you can always call me, 855-500-TRUST. All right, Ken, you have got 30 seconds to give us our market pep talk for real estate.
30 seconds, I think. Well, look, just do it. If you're thinking about going into the market and you just don't know what, I want to go talk to 10 people that have owned property for a while and ask them if they ever regretted it. And who knows what those answers are, but I bet you at least 8 out of those 10 or 9 out of those 10, if it wasn't a self-induced, will say it was the best decision they made.
Okay, there you heard it right there from the mouth of Ken Pecus. Ken, we really appreciate you being a partner in our show and being our real estate expert. You guys, his number is 619-977-8419. Call him, call me. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow here on The Word on Wealth. Thanks, Ken.
Tell a friend about The Word on Wealth, featured since 1995. With financial solutions attorney Gary Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future. The information you hear on The Word on Wealth is for general information purposes only. This program discusses general financial and legal topics. Seek legal advice from a competent lawyer for your individual legal needs.